I'm developing cheat sheets for them. Don't say but. Whether it's spelled B-U-T or B-U-T-T, do not say but. Do not make a declarative statement and then say however. I do not want to hear you say however. When you answer a question, you are limited to 3 non-compound sentences. You may not just say and go on and on and on. If you can't answer the question in 3 non-compound sentences, then you're not prepared to answer that question. And I haven't done my job effectively preparing you for that.
Hi, this is an editor's note. I don't know what happened, but somewhere along the lines, the video quality got distorted, and in the video, it's very grainy and pixelated. It's below my standards, and I'm still figuring out how to fix it, but the conversation I had with Paul Potorti was too good to miss. So I wanted to post it up anyways and see if I could fix it, maybe re-upload it later down the line. So I appreciate the understanding, and I hope you enjoy.
In simple terms, what is it that you do for work?
Wow. In simple terms, currently I am a consultant. So I own my own business. It's called Results Consulting LLC. Why the name Results Consulting? Because I always wanted my last name to be Results. If you want results, come to Paul. I think Paul Results has a nice ring to it. So my email address is resultsconsultingpaul@gmail.com. That's kind of simple. I do consulting specifically and not so specifically in communication. So for example, one of the current clients I have is in the pharmaceutical and biotech industry. They're consultants. They've hired me to refine, redevelop, implement, and to train their employees in what it takes to be a good consultant in the pharmaceutical and biotech space. How am I qualified to do this? Well, prior to you knowing me and prior to owning my own CrossFit, I was the senior training director for a consulting company that consulted for pharmaceutical and biotech. Another one of my clients is also in the pharmaceutical and biotech space, and I offered them sales training and management training. Another one of my clients is not in that space at all, but they want training on how to deliver a difficult conversation to employees. Now, I can't tell you what that difficult conversation is, but I can tell you that language is very important. Both substance and style and the delivery of that message is very, very important. Basically, things that deal with communication, that deal with training, selling, leading, management, just about everything that I've done my entire career.
It's interesting to hear you mention that you owned a CrossFit
Did.
before you became a consultant.
Yes.
What was your path? What has been your career path to
My
consulting
path
where
has
you are now?
My path has been this. I started college as a clarinet major, and then I switched to elementary education. Long story about why I left elementary education. That's for another time. I took an interpersonal communication course and just absolutely fell in love with the topic. Decided I would get a liberal arts degree and a communication studies degree, undergraduate. My very last semester, a woman who became my mentor, Virginia Wheelis, Dr. Virginia Wheelis, took me aside and said, Paul, I think you should get a master's in interpersonal communication. I said, what? She said, I think you should get a master's. It was an accelerated program, 2 years of coursework in 1 year. So I'm telling you, that was one of the most challenging years of my entire life, because not only did I get a master's in communication, I got a fellowship, which meant I was teaching interpersonal communication. I'd never had a desire to teach in my entire life. So I taught. There was this thing called a recession. I was desperate for a job. Through word of mouth, the chair of the communication department at North Carolina State University discovered that I was moving to the area. called me up, offered me a job on the phone for a semester, did that for 8.5 years. Teaching is wonderful, but you can't retire on teaching. So after 8.5 years, I made the plunge and I did a little bit of training for a company that offered training. And then a friend of mine said, you'd be really good at this job at Quintiles. At the time, it was Quintiles. And it was soft skills training. I was training leadership. And then one of the people who was working for me at the time interviewed for a job at a company called, at the time, Campbell Alliance. And she said, Paul, you would be perfect for this job that I interviewed at. Just not ready to make that plunge. You are. I interviewed for that. Was 8.5 years there. They were purchased. So, all right, they gave me a very nice severance package. And I thought, I really like CrossFit. Why don't I just open my own CrossFit? Told you the story's going to be long. So for 4.5 years, I opened my CrossFit, then decided I wanted to move to Asheville and retire. So I semi-retired, taught adjunct at AV Tech. This was before you. Had consulting at that time. The consulting company was very, very profitable. I quit doing adjunct, was consulting, and then COVID hit. So then I took a job for a company. I'm not going to mention that company, but I really missed working for myself. So I continued the consulting company, but then followed my passion, went back to AB Tech where I met you, did that for 2 years. Cadence, I never want to return. Well, I shouldn't say never. I really enjoyed training. I really enjoyed teaching. It's my passion. What I don't enjoy is working for someone else and not myself.
Mm.
I like the autonomy of my own schedule, not you have to be in the office for 5 hours. Why? There's no reason for me to be there when I can be so effective working from home. Why? Why do I need to be in a windowless office when I could be on my deck in the sunshine doing that? So I decided at the end of this, not returning to that. And the consulting company has been exceedingly profitable. So I'm going to tie up this very long story by saying the company that's rehired me is the company who purchased the company that I worked for as a senior director, training director. They kind of lost their focus on training and realized you really need to train your staff effectively. So this has been a company that's been renamed, that's rehired me to do what I did initially for them, but a whole lot better this time around. So it's come full circle. It's come
Wow.
full circle.
Wow. I was really interested to hear you talk about soft skills,
Yes.
and I wanted to learn more. What are soft skills, and where would you place their importance?
And I chuckle about this because we talk about hard skills and soft skills, and communication is always put into that soft skill. We might need to have a follow-up interview about how it comes to be called soft, and it has to do with it being feminine. And there's also some other underlying reasons why it's called soft and not a hard skill.
Sure, that would be a fascinating interview.
It will be a fascinating interview. Soft skills are often undervalued. You know me well enough, Cadence, to know that communication to me is critically important. And if you don't get that soft skill right, everything else just loses its significance and its importance. So soft skills are such things as communicating effectively as a manager. Soft skills are presentational speaking. That's a soft skill. Soft skills are listening effectively. That's a soft skill. Cadence, would you say that those three things are important?
Absolutely.
Very, very important. So that's what we mean by soft skills. They can't be measured. If I want to find how many clicks someone is clicking on my TikTok video, that can be measured. If I want to find out, are they applying these skills that I'm teaching? That's really hard to measure, isn't it? Really hard to measure. Since we can't really measure It's called a soft skill. That's another way of thinking about it. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah,
I did
absolutely.
it to the best of my ability. And I'm a communication expert, and I still struggle with answering that question.
Considering it can't be measured, I understand it
I
better after
understand
getting an
why.
explanation. To be a communications consultant, what
Mhm.
education or training would you say is required to fulfill that role?
I will say this unequivocally. Studying communication is often undervalued and sometimes even laughed. Oh, they're getting a communication studies degree. They can't do anything. There has not been a single day since I graduated with my master's that I have not used my communication degree in some form or fashion. A communication degree is critically important. You need to study interpersonal communication, public speaking, mass communication today, the influence of artificial intelligence on communication. You need to know this inside and out to speak to your audience about how they can understand and apply these tenets, these fundamentals, these basics. And then you need the experience. You need to walk the walk, and you not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. You need the experience. I don't think any person who teaches public speaking should also not have experience speaking professionally, and far too many people who teach public speaking do not have that experience. You need to know what it's like to stand in front of an audience of 200, 2,000. I did that last night. There were over 115 people in the audience, and I made sure I walked that room and I worked the audience and got everyone involved. Never did I stand behind the podium. Never did I white knuckle that podium as I presented awards, as I worked the audience. Did that answer your question?
Yes. Education in communication, would you say that that comes solely from college and the formal setting? Or you mentioned you had a mentor?
I did. I did. Now, my mentor really focused on interpersonal communication and gender and communication, which was my focus. I'm not going to state and put my stake in the ground, you have to get a formal education. But I am going to say it will certainly distinguish you from people who only have the experience and don't have the formal education. It's the very same way I'm going to say having the formal education and not the experience is not enough. I truly think it's a combination of the two in finding that balance. You know, as a student, that I had the academic background and experience, but I never spoke from on high, and I never speak down to my students. I make sure that even though I understand the theory behind it, I'm going to speak to you in a way that you understand how to apply those theories. But I have to understand the theories, and I have
Mm.
to understand how you apply that in a real world, real life scenario.
What does an average day at your job look like?
Okay, an average day. My average days are a roller coaster ride. Let me explain an average day that includes consulting. When I do my consulting, there has to be a partnership with the client. I don't work in a vacuum and say, here's the training that I'm presenting. So, for example, right now I'm developing the pilot. People will be invited to the pilot, people who help develop the training, people who have decades of experience, people who are brand new, and this will be the first time they're exposed to this information. I develop the training. I work closely with the person who's the manager on that client side. Then I bring in the project sponsor who's very senior in the organization. And I say, this is the approach. It doesn't look pretty, but I want to make sure I'm going down the right path before I make it look pretty. We're in that stage right now. So far, everything that I've designed and developed has been approved and has been embraced, and they've been delighted because since the time that I trained the organization, I've gained a vast knowledge of experience. And my approach to training is different. We have technology that's vastly different than it was 15 years ago. And I want to make sure that I'm staying on the cutting edge. Now it'll be prettied up, prettified, whatever words you want to use. And then we'll get ready for the pilot. I'll get feedback from the pilot. Then I'll launch that training 3 more times to an audience. The training will be Monday through Friday, 2 hours of virtual instructor-led training. The following week, I fly in or drive in on Monday, Tuesday afternoon, all day Wednesday, Thursday morning, very hands-on. Now, how do we apply all of this information? So it's let's learn and let's take what we've learned and really do this in a real-world scenario-based format, which includes a presentational speaking aspect of it. So my typical day now is I'll develop the training. I might meet with the project leader, the manager, for an hour. Some days I don't at all. Some days I walk the dog, we play on the beach. I bake some cupcakes. I watch some Netflix. I don't do much of anything else, but I think about it and I'm processing it. And since the fee that I charge is fixed fee, I don't charge by the hour. I just ensure that the work that I provide is the high quality that I've come to be expected from. I work exceedingly efficiently, which means it doesn't matter how many days, how many hours. That's why I don't like when you tell me you got to be 5 hours in the office. Then some other typical days are, well, I'm preparing for that 2 hours of virtual instructor-led training in the afternoon. Then other days are, I'm traveling to New Jersey, I'm traveling to California, I'm traveling to North Carolina, the Triangle, and I'm getting ready to do that training. It really is based upon what project I'm doing at that time. For the one where it's delivering difficult news, well, I'm creating FAQs. These are the questions that you can be expect to answer, to be asked. I've developed for them press releases. If the press notifies you, this is what you say, and this is only what you say, nothing more, nothing less. So you can see it's wildly varies from day to day. And that's why I like it so much. It challenges me, and I'm never bored.
And with
Never
all
bored.
that variety and excitement, what are the pros and cons of being a communications consultant?
I'll start with the cons. It's not like I know what salary I'm going to be making every month. I'll flip that with the pros. The salary is very, very good. The cons, I don't have health insurance and life insurance. The pro, well, I can certainly sign up for health insurance and life insurance and have the income to pay for that. The cons, I'm constantly selling. The pros, the work that I do sells itself. Every client that I currently have, I have not actively sought. They have reached out to me because I trained for them in the past. I do no advertising. I have no website. I'm not currently even saying on LinkedIn that Results Consulting exists, although I will be doing that in the very near future.
I did
Because
notice that.
currently, I have enough work that I want to do. I have enough work to keep me comfortable, to keep me happy, and we don't need the income. We can survive on the income. So all of this is gravy. But Cadence, I'm at a point in my life where I have that luxury. If you're just starting out, you have to work your tail off to do this. Because let's go back to that ethos, pathos, and logos. Remember that, Cadence? Ethos, credibility. Pathos, emotion. Logos, logic. The most important is ethos. and I have that credibility with the clients that I have. They
Mm.
know they can count on me. That will take you much farther than emotion and much farther than logic. But I'll still persuade with emotion and I'll still persuade with logic, but I have that credibility. I have that source credibility and I take pride in it. And I make sure I don't lose it. I take pride in it and make sure I don't lose it.
I appreciate you touching on your teachings and the teachings that I had with you at AB Tech, because the next question I was planning on asking you was, as a consultant who trains people in positions of leadership, what are the most common feedback that you give?
So the most common feedback that I give to people that I train,
That
okay,
are pursuing communications and public speaking?
that are communication, specifically communication and public speaking. I don't necessarily have an audience that's specifically that outside of teaching
Mm.
college, which I no longer do. Just about every client that I have asks me to give some type of presentational speaking. And in fact, I was just asked this by one of my current clients. We would like to hire you. What can you do? And I always approach it with this. This is the best. This is better. And this will get you there. Here's the best. I offer customized 3 2-hour virtual sessions on the basic fundamentals of public and presentational speaking. As many people as you want to attend that can attend. It will be very interactional. There'll be give and take. There'll be a lot of conversation. It will be virtual, but I promise it will be interactive. That's the best. That's the cream of the crop. The better is, or I'll meet with you one-on-one. I'll observe a little bit, and I'll give you some basic coaching. The good enough is, here's a cheat sheet on what you can do. I'm developing cheat sheets for them. Don't say but. Whether it's spelled B-U-T or B-U-T-T, do not say but. Do not make a declarative statement and then say however. I do not want to hear you say however. When you answer a question, you are limited to 3 non-compound sentences. You may not just say and go on and on and on. If you can't answer the question in 3 non-compound sentences, then you're not prepared to answer that question. And I haven't done my job effectively preparing you for that. But you're not going to get much out of that. I have very few people who want the cheat sheet. Usually, if I haven't established that credibility yet, they'll say, all right, let's do some coaching. And the people get so much out of that coaching that they say, I want more. I want more. And then that's fine because I make more money that way. And then they'll come back and hire me to do the full-blown presentational speaking. And then what will often happen is people who go through the full-blown say, all right, that was great, but can you come observe me in front of a client? I sure will. But the one-on-one coaching is where they really get the benefit. And that's usually for the more senior people in the organization, because not everyone is an effective presentational speaker. Many people who think they are not as effective as they think they are. Many people who say, well, I've been doing this for years, when they see a recording of their speech and they hear the feedback that I give them, realize that they're not as impactful, they're not as effective as they could be and as they should be.
Mm.
Lengthy response. I know, but you asked, I had to answer. Lengthy response.
I appreciate it. And I can connect with your clients in that way, being that the viewing my own videos was the most eye-opening. Seeing myself talk and especially getting your feedback
Thank you.
was a revelatory experience.
Transformational and revelatory. I hope so. I truly hope so. And that has always been my goal whether it's teaching college or teaching or training leaders and managers.
What does success look like for you?
What does success look like for me? Well, let's make a clear distinction between being effective and being successful. Effective is you get the job done. Successful is you get the job done and people want you to continue doing the job for them and more job and follow on work and everything such as that. I've kind of already defined successful. It's that, do the clients come back? Do they see the value of soft skill? Do they see an investment? Do they see that it has been valuable to invest in their employees, to invest in their staff? And can they see themselves observable, which I would then say is a hard skill, observable changes in the behaviors of the people that I've trained? And for the overwhelming majority, there are almost immediate, instantaneous changes in their approach to presentational speaking. Their managers, their leaders can see that. Some people struggle a little bit more. Some people struggle with seeing themselves recording and making the necessary changes. Some people would just deny. Some people would say it's good enough. But for those who truly want to improve, they can see the improvement. And the people that they work with, particularly their leaders, particularly their managers, can also see that improvement. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Good. Do you have a follow-up question?
I do have a follow-up question.
Good for you.
I am thinking of a way to say this succinctly.
Don't worry about it. I'll provide feedback after this interview and tell you what you could have done a whole lot better. I've been counting all the disfluencies anyhow.
All the
fellow tally sheeters.
I know I started at least one with a so.
That's okay. We're learning, right? It's a lifelong journey.
For you personally, as an entrepreneur, where do you find success and contentment with your business?
It's a relatively easy question. You know how passionate I am about the topic. I always know I'm successful when I can tell the audience is enjoying themselves and I'm enjoying myself as well. I promised myself that when I no longer enjoy what it is that I'm doing, then I will no longer do what it is that I'm doing. Nonverbal communication is reciprocal in nature. And when my audience knows that I know that I not only have the credibility, I know what I'm talking about, but I'm enjoying talking about what I'm talking about, and I'm enjoying having them talk about what I'm talking about, then I know that I've been successful. And you've heard me say this, Cadence. I know I'm successful when the time goes fast. So I'm looking at the time. We've been at this more than a half an hour. Has it seemed like a half an hour, Cadence? But because it hasn't seemed like that to me, it seemed like the time has gone very fast. That perception of time is always my litmus test. It's always my litmus test.
Thank you, Paul. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate you
Absolutely.
sharing this time with me and hopping on this interview call. I really want to be respectful of your time. I
Sure.
had one more question that I thought of,
Bring it
and
on.
it's less about the career that we've been talking about. Do you have any? Let me rephrase that because I know you have some. What has been the biggest mistake or blunder that you've seen someone on stage commit and then recover from?
Oh boy. And recover. Okay.
Or if it's really funny, it doesn't have to be a recovered. mistake.
Is this rated PG-14 or is it rated R?
I don't even
Okay.
have to include this in the video.
This is what I saw. I was at a large conference of medical professionals. The person who was managing the entire project, who was going to be introducing all the speakers, worked for the same company I did. I was one of the trainers. I was talking about the way we were going to collect the data, had a Freudian slip that she could have easily recovered from, but she did not. She said, now, just a reminder, folks, the restrooms are on the back, to the left and to the right. We'll be taking breaks. Please take only breaks as scheduled. And if everyone would just please now set your phones to vibrator. And then she realized what she said. And instead of chuckling, she froze. It's this whole fight, flight, freeze. She froze. Meanwhile, the doctors are taking their phones and going, oh, you know, you could use it for this. This is great. Wait till my wife hears about this. I mean, they were having a heyday. Everyone was laughing. She thought they were laughing at her. She internalized that and froze and never recovered.
Mm.
So for the rest of the conference, she would stand in front and just either turn white or red. And to me, it's a failure on her part. Are any of us perfect? No. Did she mean to be offensive? No. Did they perceive it as offensive? Absolutely not. Could it have really made them like her that much more? Yes. Here comes the vibrator. I mean, they were having a field day at it. We really need to set aside our egos. We just need to know we're all of us, myself included, going to make mistakes from time to time, and the audience identifies with us when we do.
Mm.
Did that somewhat answer your question?
Yeah, that was awesome. That was great.
And I can't make this stuff up. You know that.
Yeah.
I saw it. Let me give you another example of when a person froze and where I recovered from this. I helped them recover from this. I was once again doing training and I was allotted 30 minutes. It was near the end of the third day of training. People always like to put me as one of the last speakers, and you probably know why, to end with some energy. Makes it more challenging for me. The speaker in front of me had her slideshow up and was ready to go. And she was talking about the way they were going to be collecting blood for a sample and had to be refrigerated and all of this. She was not very skilled. PowerPoint slide came up behind her. She looked at it. She looked at us. She went to the next slide. She looked at it. She looked at her notes. She looked at us. She went back to the previous slide. She looked at it. People were getting uncomfortable. She was completely lost. Completely lost. Kind of a little bit recovered, but the audience is lost. And I had to follow that. So I stood up and I said, all right, everyone, look at your agenda. We are now 20 minutes behind. I am allotted 30 minutes. I promise you, if I have your undivided attention for 30 minutes, I will tell you the 3 things you need to know about the way to collect the data. If I have your undivided attention, will you please stand? Everyone stood. I said, all right, have a seat, start your timers now. And I spoke for 10 minutes. I left them with the 3 most important things that I said, and I'm around if you have any more questions, you know where to find me. We're back on agenda. Thank you very much. And I got the most thunderous applause that you possibly could, which made me feel a little bit sorry for the person who went before me. But you know, you're hired to do a job, and you better be prepared to do that job. Was it her failure? I don't know. Was it her manager's failure? I don't know. Was it a combination? I don't know. But I was hired to do the job, and I got paid the same amount, whether it was 30 minutes or 10 minutes, but I did the job that I was hired to do.
Wow. Excellent story. Thank you so much for
Many more
sharing.
of those come from. We need to follow up just as stories because
Yeah,
you know I love to
right.
tell stories. Anything else, Cadence?
That is all I have for today. But I had so much fun doing this, and I'm so glad
I did too.
I could connect
I did
with
too.
you and ask you these questions in this
Excellent.
format, free flow. It was a lot of fun.
I had a lot of fun as well. You know where to find me, as does your audience. I'll be reading the comments very quickly.
Oh,
Very,
yes.
very, not very quickly, very closely. And I do ask for your audience to not include any vocalized pauses in your responses as well. So I don't want to have any likes or any so's or anything like that. They don't know what I'm talking about yet, but
If there's
maybe
any
in the follow-up.
howevers,
Yes.
I'm deleting the comment.
Or buts.
Or
Yes.
buts. Absolutely.
Yes, been by absolutely my pleasure, Cadence. Anytime, I'm here for you.
I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your weekend,
I
Sunday,
appreciate it.
Paul.
You take care.
You too.
We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.